Do you think there's enough information out on this also, what Pope Benedict actually has done? Even the background stories to the Munich Freising report and the cases that allegedly Pope Benedict had to hide, and you know, there have been interviews and facts shown to the public. But are people aware of that?
That's a great question. And again, you know, we live, Andreas, as you know, in a social media world where everything is kind of transmitted in sound bites and short information. And how difficult is it to explain something complex, multi-layered and multi-varied in a short sound bite? No, there's not enough information out there about what actually happens in terms of reform. Much of the reform that is happening today at the Vatican can be traced back to Benedict's papacy in terms of reform for clamping down and zero tolerance on those who were even alleged, credible accusations against those who had committed abuse. Again, you have to just look at his time in the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. He made sure that it was his office that was responsible for handling a lot of these cases. And as I said, in 1 year alone, 400 priests, 400 were laicized because they had accusations made against them. I think that needs to be examined more. It needs to be talked about more. And then even with the Munich report, as you mentioned, it had 4 cases it said were credible, 4 cases in the 70s that he mishandled when he was Archbishop. He, of course, strongly denied that in his 80-page response to that. So I think, again, you will have to have people who are canon lawyers, survivors, people of the church looking at this together and discussing it, trying to come to some sort of conclusion. But of course, things are never black and white as we like to paint them in the media. Things are nuanced, and there's always a lot more behind the scenes.
Well, and who wants to have an in-depth and really behind-the-scenes look on this cause, on this topic, there is online a 30-minute interview with Archbishop Genswein explaining the whole situation, explaining the Munich Freising report. Of course, that's his view, yes. That's his angle, yeah. But a view also from behind the scenes.
If you want someone who knows Pope Benedict the best and has been there with him through thick and through thin for many years, I mean, he is the man who has that insight. His point of view, yes, of course, but an incredible insight.
We're also hopeful to have a statement or an interview with him soon, just to also bring you that and this information. So please keep following us. If you're seeing this now and you're in Rome and you have a testimony, also a private testimony with Pope Benedict, please don't hesitate. Come here. We're right in front of St. Peter's Basilica column. You will be here as well. So I hope we can bring you more information. By the way, have you been to the press conference? Have you heard the latest news? I think one of our colleagues has been, at least.
No, I haven't been, and only from the press conference this morning, from what I heard, yeah.
Okay, so I will bring now, let's ask Matteo. May I ask you just briefly to come over here, our producer for EWTN News Nightly, who might have more information for us on this as well. Maybe if you hear more, we can have you back on there as well, and we'll keep online. Colin, thank you so much. I understand you will also do more information also for other TV outlets and for us from today and the coming days.
Yeah, of course, yeah, we'll be covering it across for EWTN and for the BBC as well. And again, from what I've been hearing, talking to people over the last few months, is that there's more to the legacy than maybe meets the eye. So that's incredible to see.
Colin Flynn, Vatican reporter for EWTN, Vatican Bureau, thank you so much. Thank you for being with us, and all the best now for those very busy times.
Thank you, Andreas.
Thank you. So now I'm asking to Matteo Cioffi, who is a producer for EWTN News Nightly. Again, this is not something rehearsed. This is very recent. Matteo, thank you so much for joining us here as well. You're trying to get all ducks in a row right now for your TV productions that you have to oversee. You're working here at the EWTN Vatican Bureau. We're here now since 2 or 3 hours in the square, in the piazza, just in front of St. Peter's Basilica. What do we know so far? Have we heard more also from the Sala Stampa about the protocol? What will happen in the next days?
Yes. Good morning to everyone. First of all, well, it's a sad day, very sad. We were expecting something like that for sure, but then you never know when it's happening. What we know, and we learned a few minutes ago, that the funeral will take place on Thursday.
On Thursday already?
Yeah. So January 5th, there will be a celebration for the funeral, 9:30 here in St. Peter's Square. And so that's probably the most important news that we had in the last 20 minutes. Probably you said before that at the Sala Stampa, the Holy See press office, a briefing took place. Matteo Bruni, Vatican spokesman, shared this sad news with the journalists there. And then he also said that there will be the funeral, so confirming this news. Thursday, 9:30, January 5th, there will be the funeral for Pope Emeritus Benedict here in St. Peter's Square.
And do we have information where he will be lying then?
No, we don't know that yet. We are waiting for additional news. As we know, it's going to be a long day, and we will try to provide as much as we can over the next hours. We are working on that. Matteo Bruni said now it's time to pray, it's time to stay together. Also, you know, with the sadness in our heart, because it's always something very, very sad for all of us. And he said, I will be in the Sala Stampa for the rest of the day, and probably there will be another briefing when we will have something more to share. So let's wait. What we know, it's just about the funeral, and as you probably already said before, there will be on Monday, January 2nd, you know, Pope Benedict here in St. Peter's Square, so the pilgrims, the faithful, will be able to see him and to pray and to stay together for a reflection.
But Matteo, I mean, already there are millions of people in Rome. We just had an interview with a lady from Nashville, Tennessee, who will now change her travel plans together with her son, also to say goodbye to the Pope, to maybe be there also for Thursday. Are 3 days enough to say goodbye?
Well, I don't think so. I remember in 2005 when the Pope Wojtyła, Karol Wojtyła, John Paul II died, it was a very, very touching moment, and I remember the number of people came here. I don't know, we cannot expect something like that, I don't know. I remember the city of Rome was profoundly touched of that, because, you know, he was the Pope for 27 years, for a very long time. And, you know, we were, all of us here, I remember the schools were closed, the offices were closed. I was a student at that time, and I remember how the city experienced that moment. I don't know what's going to happen for Benedict. We will see, we will understand. There will be 5 days to pray, to stay together before the funeral. People will have, as you said, 3 days here before the funeral. And what can we say?
But after the funeral, that's it, right? This is the end then of all the proceedings around
Yes.
the passing of the Pope.
Yes, exactly. You know, in these days we read something about the celebration of the funeral, because it's the first time in the history that we are experiencing something like that. I mean, Pope Emeritus died, and then another Pope could celebrate. You know, usually there is the decano of the cardinals, you know, to celebrate this. So this is a kind of weird protocol, right, that we are trying to understand, but for what we heard, Pope Francis should celebrate the Mass and not the decano of the cardinals. So this is another thing that we can just try to learn as much as we can, because it's something that we are experiencing for the first time in the history, and you know, we can be here and we can learn and we can understand, and then try.
There has been one Pope who resigned, but that was completely different circumstances.
Exactly, and I don't think there are journalists that can share something like that with us now.
No, I don't know. We're looking, but
Exactly. So let's see. But you know, that's another interesting part of this sad story, you know, just trying to understand how the protocol will be, and for sure it's a special one for this occasion, which is sad but at the same time special, and we are witnessing something incredible, and let's see how in the next hours this square will be. And we cannot forget that today is the last day of the year, so here in Rome there are a lot of tourists, a lot of pilgrims, a lot of people that maybe they don't know too much about the church, but because they are here, they are coming, you know, to the square. And
yeah, and we invite also people who watch EWTN. If you're seeing us online now on the different social media channels where we're broadcasting live, if you're in Rome, if you have a story to share with Pope Benedict, please come find us. There was a lady from Nashville just here right now who will change all her travel plans now. She's come to Rome and visited other pilgrim places, and now she wants to say goodbye also to Benedict. And I think there will be millions of faithful coming, no?
yes, I think so. And again, also because it's, you know, holiday time. and there are a lot of people, a lot of tourists, here in Rome, and probably this additional number of people will create an incredible and unexpected situation here at the Vatican tonight. I was wondering actually if the city of Rome will respond in some way to that.
We're all wondering.
Yes, I mean, for example, there are, as usual, a lot of events already scheduled for tonight.
There's a big concert in Circo Massimo, all the Centro Storico. Yes. There's a lot of people expected already, but then many will come here.
That's exactly what we are expecting. So it will be interesting to see how the city will respond and how in the next hour the situation will develop. At the Circo Massimo, as you said, it's scheduled the main event for tonight. There are, for what we read, almost 60,000 people expected. So I don't know.
Matteo, you're an Italian.
Yes.
You've been following the Vatican for a long time now as a journalist. How has Pope Benedict, as a German also, how has he been received here in Italy? What will be his lasting image also with the Italian population?
Well, we can say a couple of things. First of all, for Benedict was not easy to be the successor of another pope so important. Like I said before, for a lot of people over their lives, John Paul II was the pope, the only one, for 27 years. So when he died, I remember that, for example, in my case, I had never seen another pope, and it was strange. It was strange. So, we were not used to see someone else being the Pope. And I think that in some way he paid this kind of strange situation, to be the Pope after John Paul II. But I think that this kind of situation was just for maybe 1 year. Then people started following him, loving him, and respecting his different way of being. Because, I think it's normal that at the end we start doing comparison, between this pope, the other pope. But then we understood that he was a different, kind of pope from another country, always from Europe, but bringing his different point of view, his different way of seeing the church. So I think that even though he was the pope just for 8 years, a little bit less than 8 years, I think that people started appreciating him after a short time, and I think that he's still in the heart of everyone. And that's why.
In the heart of everyone. Matteo, you said before, Matteo Bruni, the spokesperson of the Holy See, of course, who informed us also, and he said this, he asked us also, today is a day of prayer.
Yes.
Would you mind if we pray a Hail Mary for the situation, for Pope Benedict, for all the pilgrims who will come here? Maybe you'll be joining us also online if you see that. We've done this before, and as EWTN, it's important for us to really bring you in here on St. Peter's Square with so many pilgrims are now flocking in. But one thing we shouldn't forget is to take those words seriously, that this indeed is a day of prayer. Maybe if you want to pray in Italian, I'll do it in English. You do it in whichever language you're using. And we can pray together for Pope Benedict, for a situation here, for the evolving process now also and the proceedings with the funeral. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and in the hour of our death. Amen. Matteo, thank you so much. I would like to ask you, maybe we can get 2 or 3 people who are here, who have a relationship, who also maybe came here already because they heard of Pope Benedict, and do a quick interview here. If you could maybe just branch out and organize this.
I will.
Let's see what we can organize. Thank you so much. Matteo Cioffi, our EWTN News nightly producer here in Rome at the Vatican Bureau for EWTN. Thank you. What is important also to say, and what we must not forget, is that, of course, Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI was longer a non-reigning pope than a reigning pope. And what's also interesting is the last words that Pope Francis also had for him in an interview that he gave to Javier Martinez from ABC, a Spanish media outlet. Javier was just here. If you want to look at our live footage on whichever social media channel you're using, we had him on interview this morning when we just heard about the news that Pope Emeritus Benedictus XVI has passed. And what he shared with us is also the personality of Pope Benedict. Of course, there's a lot to say about him because he was a friend, somebody who walked alongside Saint Pope John Paul II and Pope Benedict, I mean, and he was then the cardinal in charge of the congregation of the dicastery of the congregation of doctrine of faith, where he brought on the way a lot of very, very important rulings, a lot of very important processes for the church, also the renewal of the church. And then when he became pope, he was not the youngest anymore. And when he resigned, at first it was a big shock to everyone. But as Archbishop Genswein, Benedict's private secretary, shared with us in an interview, it was like the biggest surprise to Benedict himself was how long he actually lived after his resignation. We're hopeful to have an interview soon, also with Archbishop Genswein, his reaction on Pope Benedict, and I hope you will stay with us on TV, but also digital, to see that, as we're trying now to find also more guests who have come here to Rome and to interview about their experience, or what also Pope Benedict and his life meant to them, and why they're coming here now to St. Peter's Square. From Rome, Andreas Tonhauser for EWTN Vatican Bureau.